everyone. Welcome back. This is the Echols Unlimited podcast. I'm your host, Terrence Echols. And today I have the privilege of talking to one of my good friends. His name's Dave Connelly. He is the editor-in-chief of the publication, the sports publication at my school, Marist College. It's called Centerfield. Dave, how you doing today?
Great. Happy to be here. Nice Sunday morning. Talk a little football. Talk a little Centerfield.
Absolutely, man. And first and foremost, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
So me and Terrence met freshman year. We're both at Marist College in our senior years. I grew up in upstate New York, around Albany. Spent some time living in Massachusetts. But I've always loved sports. Always had a major passion for it. Kind of knew this was the path I wanted to take since really I started realizing it was something you could do, since it's still very kind of a fresh idea to be able to, do something completely revolving around sports for a living. I came to Marist because they offered a pretty nice sports communications program, and just kind of ran with it. Started writing a lot, started writing for Centerfield and for things outside of Centerfield, and honed to the crafts, obviously still doing so. And kind of worked my way up, and now top of the mountain at Centerfield, which is really cool. And trying to do as good as we can with COVID,
Right. No, that's big time, man. And, I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you've made it all the way to the top of the food chain at Centerfield. And why don't you tell people a little bit about your athletic background? I know you play ultimate frisbee at Marist. What other sports did you play growing up?
Yeah. So in high school, I played golf for the school. I played basketball on a not quite AAU. It was like a travel league, but I wasn't good enough for AAU or anything like that. I was I think the best way to describe me, I was like a very average athlete at every single sport,
Okay.
other than golf, I would say. But I always had a good understanding of the sports, like watching them. Football, I watched since a young age. Same with basketball. Soccer, I just got into the last few years, and I'm starting to really get a good feel for it. And I played basketball, baseball, and soccer up until pretty much high school, and then I kind of moved. I did most of that in Massachusetts, and then I moved, and I just kind of was like, no point in finding a league at this point. But then I got to Marist, and one of my friends in the first week of freshman year was like, "Hey, you should try out for the frisbee team," and I was like, how do you even play frisbee? What is ultimate frisbee? I was very lost.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, why not? I'll go. I'll give it a shot. Maybe. And I, made a bunch of friends. I was able to make the team, and now I'm captain there as well. And I've made a ton of memories there. So it's something definitely near and dear to my heart. But that's about it. Nothing crazy to stand out on. But no, it's I think having that background of playing definitely helps you. I'm sure it helped you as manager, and obviously it helps you now because you're continuing to play. But having that background of playing definitely helps you understand the game at a further level. Really, no matter what level you're playing it at, as long as there's some level of tactics involved.
Right. Yeah. No, understanding that from a player's perspective is definitely, what gives a lot of people in the sports realm, not even just coaches, but broadcasters, different entertainers, and people around sports. It definitely gives you a different perspective and a different level of respect, I guess, for athletes. And so, what was it like transitioning, from high school to college, and then finding sports comm as your major, and also getting involved in different things that involve sports communications? How did you find that as your how did you make the decision to make that your profession or want to study that in college?
I think it kind of started in middle school, high school, and I just kind of, I'd watch guys on TV. I'd watch, like Adam Schefter. I would watch, Scott Van Pelt, Joe. I love Joe Buck. People that I can go on a rant for that for days, but people hate on Joe Buck. I love Joe Buck. I'd love to have his job.
Yeah.
But I just kind of saw people doing that, and I was like, wow, like this is something you can pursue. I just need to find the place that will help me do that. You know what I mean? I need the place that will help me get to the next level. And when you're in high school, it just seems so far away, because you see these guys on TV, they're big personalities, blah blah blah. So I was like, I need to find that place that will help me. And I looked at other schools. I looked at Sacred Heart. I looked at UConn. Um, I looked at UAlbany in the area. And I came to Marist. I loved the campus. I loved a lot of it. And then I was like, all right, like and then I finally sat down. I believe it was during a visit. Then they had kind of like the sports head of the department just sit down and talk for like 15, 20 minutes about like what kids have done, where they've interned, where they've gone on to work, what the program is like. And I was sold. I was like, all right, yep, this is definitely, this is the place that can help me achieve what I want to achieve. And and then I got here, and it's scary. It just like any other major here. But it's one of the hardest in terms of it's very easy to just jump the line from, sheltered in a classroom to, oh my God, I'm covering a Division I sport, because that's the great thing, and why I chose to come here is because, Marist isn't known for like many other sports, but it's all Division I, and that's really all that matters. And I like the fact that it's smaller because it becomes a lot easier to write for. It's not easy to write or be like one of the main beat writers at the school for the men's basketball team if you go to Duke or if you go
because
to
you got
Kentucky.
like 7 guys in line to do that.
Yeah. My friend's at Rhode Island, and he struggles trying to get games and stuff, and he's been a junior and senior since he started doing all that. So I started doing. I got into Centerfield, as you were mentioning, my sophomore year, and I started doing a few games, and they really liked my writing for any sport. That's the biggest thing, is I was taking whatever I could get. I was like, throw me at the women's lacrosse game. I never watch lacrosse. I have no clue what's going on, and I'm like, I'll learn. I don't care. Give it to me.
Yeah.
So I just wanted the chance to write, show off what I could do, and obviously learn as well. And then now all of a sudden, last season I think I counted. I've done like almost 20 men's games since sophomore year. So I probably did like you saw I probably did 10 last year, honestly. Maybe 10. So no, it's awesome. It's really cool, and Marist has definitely given me the platform.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned, the fact that it's a small school and that you're able to get that real firsthand experience. And I think a lot of the guys who see the big names, the Syracuse, the UConn, like you mentioned, and other big schools for communications, they automatically think, okay, if I go there, I'm going to get a job. However, if you don't get that firsthand experience when you first get there, say you end up not liking it, and you've waited 4 years to finally, be the beat writer for a men's or women's basketball or lacrosse or whatever sport you want to cover, and you realize, oh, I don't really like this that much. You've just spent the first 4 years of your college life studying for something that you probably don't want to get into now. And that's exactly what happened to me. You mentioned how I think it was at the Acceptance Students Day, where I saw it, and I learned about the sports communications program that they had here, and I was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I wanted, and that's what I thought I wanted coming out of high school. When I realized that, I ended up getting my hands on a camera, working a volleyball game my first week on campus as a freshman for the Red Fox Network here, and I realized in that moment that it just wasn't for me. So, and I'm glad that you were able to find that as early as your sophomore year. And I love coming over to see you at the beginning of games with your suit and tie, all ready to go, dressed up. And I always find Dave, and it's always a nice time to see you while everyone's stretching and everything. A good time, man.
So it's always fun to be at the games, and it's nice because if we're at a bigger school, me and you don't really know each other, or I didn't know Connor, who was on the team freshman year, or Toby.
Right.
Um, and that aspect of it I like as well. Like Coach Dunn knows me by first name. He
Yeah.
knows a lot of people or a few people at Centerfield. That doesn't happen at bigger schools. And being able to know, like for away games when I cover them, I call Coach on the phone, like for a one-on-one interview, like
Yeah.
after the game, like that. I'm not going to do that with Coach K at Duke ever. That will never happen if I go there. He's never going to
Right.
do that, you know. And also trying to get on press row at an away game would never happen either. They
Yeah.
wouldn't let, a student publication. If we're playing at, North Carolina, they're not
Hmm.
going to give room for a Duke away student publication.
Hmm.
So a lot of schools, thankfully, because we play against other smaller schools, allow that. If
Yeah.
I am in the area to go to a Quinnipiac game, and obviously there's no COVID regulations, and I say, hey, I'm here as the away. I did it at Fordham. Like it's doable.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
another part of the resources you get at a smaller school that people don't necessarily, they kind of overlook. That firsthand experience and being able to put on your resume, hey, I covered a Division I program.
Yep.
I was able to go to the press conference. I was able to sit courtside. Like I did all of that. I've already done it. And a kid at
Yes.
Duke, he could take the great classes, get a 3.8, get this crazy school on his resume,
Mhm.
and then they put the real work in front of him. And I'm not bagging anyone who goes to Duke. I'm sure
Right.
most people know what they're doing. I'm sure most know more than me. But the people who don't get the experience or get a chance to, kind of they go, all right, do you know how to write a game, or do you know how to go cover a game? And they're like, I've never done that in my life.
Right.
And a
Yeah.
lot of it, at least in the sports communications industry, just boils down to hard experience, which
Right.
is, I'm thankful Marist has given me that.
Right. Yeah, man. Absolutely. And I love how you mentioned, seeing you at the Fordham game. I didn't even know, like when I saw you at that game, I didn't even know you weren't on campus. Like I
Yeah,
didn't know you were
yeah, no.
doing the Marist in Manhattan program.
Hmm.
So the trip to Fordham was just a short trip for you. And then
Yeah.
seeing you at the Siena game, obviously you're from that Albany area. That was
Mhm.
pretty cool. But then the real dedication was shown when you showed up to Atlantic City for our game at 9 o'clock at night. I see this man Dave. I'm like, oh, are you like staying down here or something? You're like, no, dude, I just drove down here and I'm driving back after the game that didn't end until about midnight that night. And it's true. That's true dedication, man. And I respect you 100% for that.
No, yeah, thank you. That was I actually haven't, since I got here, I haven't missed, because they did have it in Albany, which is easier, but I haven't missed a tournament game, because how could you, in
Right.
college basketball when your
Yeah.
team's good. But yeah, I was just basically like, hey, as long as classes don't interfere, because I obviously wasn't editor in chief at the time. I was an editor, but it wasn't my
Yep.
call. And I was the beat writer, so I did have the right to go. And I was like, I'm going to be watching the game anyway. I've never been to Atlantic City. I've never been to Boardwalk Hall. I was
Yeah.
like, might as well go. And
Yeah.
they were like, all right. And they actually did offer if I wanted a hotel room. And I
Okay.
was like, do I really want one? And I actually didn't realize how long the drive was. I got there and I was like, wow, that was a long drive.
Yeah.
And the game, yeah, like you said, the game started at 10,
Yeah.
because
Close to
I
it.
don't know if the games before went into overtime or not, but I think they just took a while, because it takes like half an hour to switch out, I
Team.
don't know entirely how it works. I'm sure but like locker rooms and
Right.
floor ready and warm ups, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like just games take longer than people expect,
Yeah.
and it might have
I
been
mean,
like an
yeah,
overtime game. Yeah.
they schedule them like back to like 2 hours apart from each other. And I'm like, the game takes 2 hours. You need 20, 30 minutes between. Where's the thought process
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, exactly. I think our game was scheduled for like 8:30 or something. We didn't tip until close to 10, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't because um I had to talk to coach, and then obviously you guys put a few players out, and by the time that was done, and by the time I got the quotes out and got the story up, because we were
Yep.
trying to get the story up that night, I didn't leave till 1:30,
Wow.
and I got back at 5:30. I should have stayed. Bad decision.
Yeah.
poor decision making on my part.
Right.
If I go this year, I will be staying.
Yes, 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 and hopefully you'll be staying for a longer time. Hopefully we're
Yeah.
down there for a while this coming year.
Hmm.
But no, that's great, and like the fact that you have that sort of experience, the driving, what was it, 7 hours in one day, going through that, seeing that, and doing that as a 21-year-old is only going to help you in the long run, especially in an industry where you may have to do that
Hmm.
in a situation, and getting that experience as a 21-year-old, that's only going to help you in the long run. So I'm happy for you for that. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about what is it like in Albany, life in Albany? I know you're originally born and raised in Massachusetts. What year did you move there, and what can you tell me about the capital region?
So I was born in Gilderland, Massachusetts. Gilderland, New York. Wow. I just made up a town. If there is a Gilderland, Massachusetts, I apologize.
Okay.
So yeah, I was born in Gilderland, New York. I tell people I was raised in Concord, Massachusetts, because I was there
Okay.
from first grade to like eighth grade,
Okay.
and then in eighth grade I moved back to
Gilderland.
the Gilderland area, like 3 miles away from where I was born.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean the capital region is, a lot of people give it. When I first met my girlfriend and I told her I was from there, they give it a very rural kind of tag,
Yeah.
because really she's from Long Island, so a lot of people from Long Island just kind of automatically tag everything above Poughkeepsie
Yeah.
as just woods and
Yeah.
nothing, and practically like northern Canada. And I'm like, I am from Gilderland's got, you could look it up, like 35,000 people. It is very, they're urban areas, especially Albany. Obviously, Albany's
Right.
like 100,000 people. So yeah, I lived in kind of an outskirts suburb of Albany. They love their high school sports. They love Siena up there. Especially the last few years.
Right.
And yeah, you remember when we had the home game?
Oh
They
yeah.
brought a freaking, like, they brought like 2 buses of fans.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and they have obviously the Times Union Center, and they pack it for a lot of the games. So yeah, Albany's a really nice area to grow up. There's a lot of families. There's a lot of kids. Um, a lot of good high schools, a lot of good high school athletics, and yeah, no, I really like growing up there. I came back in eighth grade, and I had no idea what I was getting into, and I met some of my friends that I'll have obviously for life, that I talk to every day. So yeah, no, upstate's a great area. There is some rural aspects where it's very gorgeous, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, great place to live, great place to grow up, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Right. No, I'm glad for that. And I know we talk a lot because us both being from upstate New York, there's not many of us down here, and
No.
it's a lot of those Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut people, and you mentioned that when they think about upstate New York, they automatically think it's this like just ridiculous obscure place that's just all woods and trees and lakes and stuff, and they're like, oh, you haven't been to the beach, like you don't have good food, like there's some quality places in upstate
Oh
New
yeah,
York.
100%.
And I think people like us, we need to help put some more respect on that part of the country, because it's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful place, very snowy, of course. Can't really do much about that, but
Yeah.
I love it, and I'm glad that you're a fellow upstater, and we can share that sort of bond.
We got to
And
break the stigma that people have on upstate New York.
absolutely,
Bad.
man. Absolutely. Hey man, I love Syracuse, New York. You won't find me saying anything negative about that area. So
Never.
yeah. So when we were preparing for this podcast, you mentioned I was mentioning to you a bunch of topics that we could have covered, and you mentioned to me that you're a big NFL, college football, and English Premier League
Hmm.
fan,
College basketball. College
or
basketball.
college basketball. My
Oh,
bad,
yeah,
my
you're
bad.
good.
I'm the college football fan. Yeah. No, I love like I love college football. I love college basketball, of course. I love playing college basketball, but college football, there's nothing that.
I did catch Notre Dame Clemson last night. That was an awesome game.
Okay, yes, all right.
So I'll tune in for the big ones. Like obviously I'll tune in for the big bowls, but
Right.
I don't know. I just don't follow. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I should. You need
Yeah,
to get me on that. You need to keep me on that.
I got you. I got you. I got a couple of guys who I follow in the podcast space who I like to listen to and take notes on and see
Mhm.
how they present their podcast. So I think that's kind of how I got sucked into that that community, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, but talk to me about like why you like the NFL, college basketball, and English Premier League.
Um. So I guess the first one that started was NFL. I used to, since probably like kindergarten or first grade. I was blessed because my family. I became a Bucs fan at a very young age. My dad is a Jets fan and my mom's a Bills fan. And for a
Okay.
while, we lived in Massachusetts, where you weren't getting any of those games unless they were playing the
I know.
Patriots for the
Right.
one of the two times that year. Especially not the Bucs. You were not getting the Bucs
Right.
in Massachusetts
Were those the
on
Chris
TV
Sims
ever.
days?
For the Bucs,
Yeah.
oh man, yeah, Bruce Gradkowski, Chris Sims. I mean, Jeff Garcia was a good one, but yeah,
Okay.
a lot of tough quarterbacks. But we can go down that list. But anyway, um, so we had Sunday Ticket. I was very blessed that we had Sunday Ticket, and little 5 6 year old Dave would plop his butt down for like 12 hours a day and just absorb all of the football because
Yeah.
I was privileged to watch all of it. And then they came out with the Red Zone channel,
Mhm.
and then I started watching that. And then I would just keep up with all the teams. And as an elementary school, middle schooler, you don't have much else going on, so you have so much free time. You just kind of do whatever sticks. And I'd watch
Right.
football on Sunday. Um, and yeah, I just got really glued to it, and I've had my entire life. It's really been a part of my life, which is I think a lot of people could say the same. But yeah, it's something I've always been into. And then college basketball, I can't remember what got me so hooked. I would say it's the sport I have the most knowledge on out of the
Okay.
three.
Awesome.
I like a lot of the smaller schools. Like I'll keep eyes on the smaller players, the smaller schools.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I think it was probably March Madness. I remember I just really, really liked it. I love the idea of like Cinderella teams and the smaller schools taking on the bigger schools, and
Yeah.
the fact that all you need is a team to get hot at the right time and you'd never know what could happen. You
Absolutely.
had like George Mason, you had Wichita State, you recently had Loyola Chicago. So yeah, I just love the atmosphere of it, the winner go home, all that.
Mhm.
And then I kind of started following, regular season. I was like, wow, and it's a lot of work. I mean, you really got to roll up your sleeves if you're going to follow college basketball throughout the regular season. There's 350, I think this year is 357. They used to be 353 or something.
Yeah.
And no, yeah, it's a lot of work to keep up with, but it's something I like. I kind of like the grind of it, and following all the schools and the narratives and all that. And a lot of it's underreported because it's just smaller schools. And some dude hits a game winner in the MAC or in the Big South,
Yeah.
the SWAC. Like it doesn't really make Sports Center, which
Right.
is something that these guys bust their butt, you know,
Mhm.
every single day trying to have a moment like that, and it doesn't even make mainstream media, which stinks. But it
Yeah.
is the way it is. And then as for Premier League, I just got into it. I would say a few years ago. You can see it actually. I'm a big Tottenham fan,
Okay.
but
Interesting.
I just got into it the last few years, and then really once quarantine hit, it was one of the first sports back. It was back
Mhm.
in like mid-June,
Oh
so I
wow.
just started really watching it. Like I started really trying to learn the sport since like 2016. I would watch it, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't watch much beyond Tottenham. And then I really started watching it and caring about it. And now this year, I'm really like I'm watching like every game. And
Oh wow.
yeah, no, it's really awesome. I honestly have like fallen in love with soccer. It might be my favorite out of the three to watch. It's just when you understand. A lot of people think it's boring or whatever. When
Right.
you really understand the tactics of it, and more than just watching the goals, like watching player movement and watching
Mhm.
where the ball's going, and pressuring and all the different tactics and systems that managers implement. It's crazy to watch. It's an awesome sport. I recommend it to anyone. But yeah, Premier League I just really got into, and I love their promotion relegation system, all that stuff. So those are the three for me. I try to watch other stuff like
Yeah.
I try to keep up with that. I mean, I can keep up with NBA, try to get
Mhm.
with MLB, but then it gets to a point where it's just so much, all those sports at once, trying to watch them, especially with quarantine.
Yeah.
Everything was kind of starting up again, and my head was spinning.
Yeah.
So you just kind of buckle down and grab a few that you really want to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. And everyone has their um their favorites and their preferences. Uh, what I find interesting is you're the first Tottenham fan I've ever met. Anyone
Really?
who I know who follows the EPL, they're always Liverpool, Everton, Chelsea, Man City, Man U, uh, the big programs and the big clubs. I'm surprised you said Tottenham. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's real interesting. I
Love the
couldn't
sport.
name a single player on that roster.
Oh yeah, no, I could name all of them. Yeah, me and my friends at home there's like we all watch it, so like we have half the table covered in fandom.
Oh wow.
I have friends of like every or who are fans of like every team in the Big Six, and then I have fans of friends that are fans of like smaller clubs like West Ham and like Bournemouth. Like yeah, no, it's great. We
Wow.
all really like it, so it also makes it easier for me to follow.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad I'm happy that you found something that you're real passionate about.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about the Bucks. You mentioned that when you talked about the NFL. Uh, they had a pretty good offseason. They signed this guy. What's his name?
Can't
Quarterback.
remember. Blaine Gabbert.
Tom Brady. Yeah,
Oh
Tom
wait, we already
Brady.
had Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Blaine Gabbert. Yeah, him and but they signed Tom Brady, arguably, well, probably not even arguably at this point, the greatest quarterback of all time. And they signed one of his favorite targets of all time, Rob Gronkowski, and then the rich seemed to get richer with the signing of Leonard Fournette, and then they just got Antonio Brown, and I'm like, when is it gonna end? Like they now have weapons upon weapons to not even to mention that they already had guys like Mike Evans and Godwin and those types of guys on their offense. So why don't you tell me a little bit about um, what are your thoughts on the season so far?
Oh man, I can't even explain it. I I mean, I've been for anyone who's followed the NFL or just who's a Bucks fan. I've been a Bucks fan since 2005, and since 2002 when they won the Super Bowl. I believe I have a banner of that as well. Oh, there
Really?
it is, right there.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
yeah, no, since that year, they've been arguably the worst franchise in the NFL, other than maybe the Browns.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Jets are
I
getting
mean,
there too.
you could probably throw the Bills in there as well. I know they've had recent success, but before that, they were pitiful.
Yeah.
And my mom being a Bills fan, Bills, Bucks, Jets is a rough run of it for the last 10 years. Especially since the Jets somehow stumbled into an AFC Championship game 2 years in a row.
Two in a row. Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, nothing in terms of playoffs.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
We haven't won a playoff game since I believe like 03,
Wow.
maybe the Super Bowl year, and then we made the only time we've made it in my life of being a Bucks fan, because I
Right.
was alive for that Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was 07 when we lost to the Giants, who went on to beat the undefeated Patriots in the Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, it's been really rough. I have a picture, maybe I'll send it to you, but I hope it never leaks or goes public, of me after we signed Tom Brady. My eyes are like swollen. I was crying so much. My face is red. There's tears everywhere. My parents, this was like a week after we all got sent home, maybe 2 weeks.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
even. No, because
Yeah.
I
Early
partied with my friends
quarantine.
that night because
Early
there wasn't
quarantine.
any masks. There wasn't any
No.
restrictions. It was like fresh going home.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to a party that night with my friends, and I was waiting all day. I was anxious. It was that day where it was like not quite confirmed. I think Colin Coward said something about it on his show, but people were like,
Oh, right.
yeah, they were like, he's a talking head. Not sure if it's quite his place to report that, like if he
Yeah,
really has the sources for it. So
right.
I was like, I'm not doing anything until Schefter says it. And then, at like six
Checkers.
6:15, he announced it on Sports Center,
Yeah,
and my parents weren't home, and I sent a picture of me just bawling my eyes out to my dad because he was like, "How do you feel?" And I was like,
right.
"That sums it up." And yeah, no, that I mean, I didn't even have words for how I felt, and to just have any like to even just have any sense of being possibly able to make the play. Like I don't even think we're gonna make the playoffs. I still can't fathom it. It feels like we're just gonna go 6-10. I
Really?
it's
What?
just
What? Are,
it's
what are
just
they?
in my nature. I just can't even fathom it.
You
I
guys are
can't.
what, like 5-2 right now?
6-2.
6-2.
I,
Yeah.
I I I know like if I looked at any other 6-2 team like the Titans, I'm like they're in the playoffs, but I just can't get it through my because I need to see it happen. It's a
Okay.
mental block.
Okay.
And yeah, and all the signings we've made, especially having Bruce Arians at the helm, who I've always admired. I think he's a great offensive mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean I saw it, and it went underappreciated, but what he did, and I don't think Brady really needed this, but what he did for Carson Palmer in Arizona a few years back, where Carson Palmer, for anyone who followed his career, was on Cincinnati
Yep.
and for 10, 12 years, kind of similar to Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Kind of put up good numbers, was
Yeah.
never
Like
could
middle of
never
the
get
pack
over the
normally.
hump, but he was always a respectable quarterback there.
Absolutely.
And then he went to Oakland and was not good, was just pitiful. I don't even
Yeah.
know if he played out that whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to Arizona, and Bruce Arians was like, "I can work with him." And I believe they went to an NFC title game. I mean, they were scary that year. That was Larry
Yeah.
Fitzgerald. I don't remember who's in the backfield, but nevertheless, that team was awesome. So I knew he could do it with Brady, and I always felt that I hated the discussion of was it Brady or was it Belichick. I think it can be both. You know,
Yeah.
I think they're both great in their own ways, and
Mm-hmm.
although the Patriots are struggling a bit,
Yeah.
when Cam Newton can't throw a 5-yard slant route into the numbers, then I don't really know what he's supposed to do. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's been my fandom as a Buccaneers fan. But hopefully things are looking up. They certainly seem that way.
Absolutely. And I just want to get your thoughts. How are you feeling about Antonio Brown?
I had a tweet about this, and
That's exactly why I asked you that question because I
yeah,
saw your tweet.
I'm a guy for second chances. But it feels like he's on his 800th. And like when Michael Vick came back to the league, I was younger, but I was like, you know what, this guy, he deserves it, and he's done a lot. He's done a lot,
Mhm.
and on a even a more intense scale, I feel a second chance. I don't think it won't come, but the stuff that people don't realize what Ray Rice has done since that video leaked. I mean,
Mhm.
he's done a lot for domestic abuse. He's done a lot in the community, and he's done a lot to try to fix his image.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's on a much higher scale.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at Michael Vick; he's completely turned his life around.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And he made a bad mistake,
Yep.
and he served jail time for it, and he came out, and he's come out a better man, and he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I want to say I do hope the same for Antonio Brown. I think he's had his share of chances.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think I think it brings a lot of bad PR to sign someone like him,
Mhm.
rather like regardless of just the poor morals.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, yes, I'm still gonna root for the team. Yes, I hope he does well. But I'm just not sure how huge of a fan I am of the signing. If he scores, I'll be happy. But it's so hard as a fan, like
Yeah.
you're walking on eggshells. And someone did I believe Will and Lily or something did a capping project on like where fandom and like morals kind of meet. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Where like your player signs or your team signs this player,
Yeah.
how do you react? Do you
Yep.
celebrate him? Like do you boycott the team? I'm
Yep.
not ready to do that because obviously a lot of it's alleged. I'm assuming he did it, but
Yeah.
A good amount of evidence against him. But no, it's tough. It's really tough, and I hope the front office knows what they're doing. I hope Bruce Arians and Tom Brady specifically, since it seems like he's kind of been requesting this, know what they're doing. And I genuinely, as a person who believes in second chances, I know it may be a third or fourth. I hope he can figure it out. It seems like Tom is really willing to help him off the field as well. He's been staying at his place,
Yeah.
so I hope he can find the path to kind of living a better life. And I think football helps him. I think it really keeps him staying on the field, keeps him from doing all that stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I hope that that can be the case. I don't think there's really a better group of dudes to be with than one, this team, and two, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, if you're trying to do that. So
I mean, I'd argue Seattle would have been better, but at the same time,
Seattle could have been nice as well. Russell Wilson's I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan. He's a very good guy.
yeah.
I think either way he would have been set. But yeah, no, I hope the best for him. I hope he does well for us. I hope he succeeds. I hope he clears everything out and can kind of hopefully clear his name a little bit. But I mean, if he does something stupid again, it's just going to be an "I told you so" and what's wrong with you guys for doing this? I think it was a high risk, low reward. But
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe he'll be great, and I'll be eating my words by Thanksgiving when he's catching touchdowns for us, and
Right.
tonight even.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's hope. I hope he does well. I hope, for your sake, that the Bucs, continue to do well and play well. And I
Mhm.
mean, I hope the Patriots also play well because I would have originally, being a Jets fan, Tom Brady leaving, uh, them being left with just Bill Belichick, I would have been, oh, that's fine. But as an Auburn fan, as an Auburn football fan, the signing of Cam Newton has now made me obligated to root for the Patriots to do well and play well. And so
Yeah,
I'm hoping he can come back and put it back together. Mind you, he did have the coronavirus, so
that is
that
true.
that'll take a little while. I know it messes with your head for at least a couple weeks after you get it. I've heard people have just felt out of it after they get the virus. And obviously, like conditioning and all that, you don't really have to worry about that with Cam, but that can take its toll as well. So hopefully in the next few weeks he puts it together and they can have a good end of the year. They play my Jets on Monday.
That's a tough one. That is a tough. You are home though. I
That's
will say, I'm in a pool. I'm in a pool. This is probably a horrible idea, but and I don't even Darnold's not going to play, is he?
no Joe Flacco starting.
Oh goodness, now I regret it. I'm in a pool where it's just you pick straight up, and a lot of times it's like tied going into Monday night.
Mhm.
So I try to separate myself, and I took the Jets.
Oh,
Oh boy,
buddy. You
oh boy, that might have been a
might have
horrible.
made a great mistake.
I would have given him a fighter's chance because since Gase gave up the playbook to the offensive coordinator, whose name is escaping me.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't even know his name.
yeah, since they've looked better on offense. I mean,
Mhm.
you guys went out to like a 10, what was it, a 10-0 lead on the Bills?
Something like that. No, I
Yeah.
haven't been paying much attention recently. Yeah.
So it felt. I mean, now you've Joe Flacco, who's an absolute statue in the pocket and has the presence awareness of a fourth grader.
Yeah, yeah, it
Or the
doesn't help
pocket awareness,
with the
but
with the fact the Jets have a terrible offensive line.
yeah, it's just it's not good.
It's a work
But
in progress, though.
hey, my dad being a Jets fan and a lot of my friends, obviously, I'm sure you have a bunch as well who are Jets fans, and you. I will be rooting for the Jets. I will always root for the Jets. I don't care what. I don't care. I've been a Bucs fan when they've had plenty of top 5 picks. I don't care how much it messes up the pick. I'm never gonna root for a draft pick. I'm rooting for wins, no matter
Mhm.
what.
Right. No, absolutely. No, I don't like the concept or idea of tanking. But the idea of getting a guy like Trevor Lawrence in New York, maybe with a new coaching staff, is
Makes you want
enticing.
to tank. If there's a year to tank,
Yeah,
it
it's
might be
enticing.
the year.
But at this point, it might even be Justin Fields. And I know you're not familiar with college football, but in my opinion, I think Justin Fields could be a better fit than Trevor Lawrence, considering the fact that he's a more mobile quarterback. Trevor Lawrence runs out of necessity, not out of the fact that it's an actual tool and a weapon within his arsenal.
Mhm.
So I really like Justin Fields. He's just as accurate as Trevor Lawrence. I think it's a toss. It's going to be a toss up um, come April, May, whenever they decide to do next year's draft. I don't know what they're going to do with the FCS playing in the in the spring.
Mhm.
So we'll see when that happens, but I think it's going to be a toss up. Depending on what their scheme is, and who gets the number one pick. Um, but yeah, no, I'm hoping the Jets can turn it around uh, soon. I hope they can at least get a couple wins to end the year. But it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it'll be an interesting game to say the least. I'll obviously be tuning in, but I don't even. I got to look at what the point spread is there. It's probably not pretty, but yeah, no, yeah. Week 9 is approaching. We're actually like an hour from kickoff, so I'm getting excited. But
Right,
yeah, yeah, no, we'll see. It's very interesting this year as well with the expanded playoffs. So
right. Um, and I'd love to get into that, but I gotta switch the topic again, and talk a little
you
bit
know,
of
go for it.
college basketball with you. Let's talk about some of your favorite teams. Who have you followed? I know you mentioned that you like watching a lot of the mid-major programs do well, and see like just some of those obscure teams that don't get covered. But I follow your Twitter account. You're very active on Twitter. I love you're a great follow. That's why I thought of you to come
Oh,
on
thank
this
you.
podcast. Uh, you remind me of Jeff Goodman, John Rothstein. Um, Type of Twitter account, where you're coming up with some news and facts about different college basketball players and teams and what's going on within the sport. So are there any big teams that you would say that you are considered a fan of, or how does that work?
So when I approached college basketball, I was kind of unique in terms of I'm not um I realized I was trying to force fandom onto like schools and stuff. And I was just like, I'm not feeling it. And I was just like, I don't have to be, especially as a writer, it's actually a plus. I was like, I don't have to be a fan of anyone. I
Yeah.
can like the sport or like the collegiate level of it. And I was like, I really like college basketball. I'm not, other than Marist, I'm not a fan of anyone. Obviously, the school I go to is who I'm a fan of.
Yep.
Big teams, I think it helps with my writing and it helps with understanding what seed each team should be,
Mhm.
or how they are, like not thinking they're better or worse than they are because I'm a fan.
Right.
Um, I think that helps, and um, it varies each year. There are teams where based on their players or their philosophies or their coach, I'll like them more than others. So I will get a soft spot for some teams, even the smaller ones. I'll try to watch them when I can because I just think they're a fun watch, or I like the kind of what they're building.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, it varies. I mean, I would say the last few years, like to rattle some off, I would say I really like Western Kentucky as this kid, Charles Bassey,
Yeah.
who's a 5-star recruit
Yeah.
who had offers from a lot of big schools and
Mhm.
decided to go there. And he's entering his junior year. He's battled with some injuries, but
Yeah.
yeah, they have him. They have I'm trying to think Tavion Hollingsworth. And I've always liked Rick Stansbury as a coach.
Didn't they just they signed did they sign Zion Harmon?
They might have. I should know this.
I
I haven't
thought
been
he was
following.
the big
Yeah,
time.
they did. Yeah, you're right. They did. Oh, on my birthday too. Nice. He's an incredible. Rick Stansbury is an unreal recruiter. He's a good coach. The fact that I don't think they've made a tournament since he's been there in the last like 3 or 4 years, which blows my mind.
Right.
So maybe that'll make Charles Bassey stay. I doubt it because he's like a shoe in for the Conference USA Player of the Year.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, if you have 2 5 stars on the floor in a conference like that's just unreal,
Absolutely. Yeah.
especially with him at the helm. So other teams I liked, Wofford when they had Fletcher McGee, they
Okay.
made that run. I was watching them in November.
Yeah. Dawn Murphy.
It's a lot of teams that like people catch on to in March, and I'm like, oh yeah, nope, saw that coming because
Yeah.
a lot of these teams are just ridiculous all year, and no one really pays attention.
Right.
Um, so yeah, there's been a bunch. I remember seeing that year Middle Tennessee beat Michigan State in that crazy upset. This
Yes.
is kind of the beauty of March Madness is I was
Yes.
watching them in it was the Conference USA title game, and it was like
Okay.
I think it was like a day before Selection Sunday. I think I was watching with my dad, and I looked at him, It was them. I forgot who they were playing. It might have been Western Kentucky. Or no, I think it might have been like Old Dominion. I don't remember.
Okay.
And I looked at my dad and I was like, neither of these teams, like they looked bad. I was like, neither of these teams are going to come close. They're both going to get wiped out in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of March Madness is they come out and I picked Michigan State to win my bracket.
Oh God.
And I'm watching and it's like, I think it was it was Friday because it's Thursday, Friday. So it was the second day of the first round. And I'm watching my bracket just burst into flames. I'm like, I've been enjoying March Madness for 24 hours and my bracket's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. Because these dudes who I said were going to lose by 40, they didn't just win. They dominated Michigan State. They made Michigan State look like the 15th seed.
Right.
I mean, they murdered them.
What year was that? What year was this?
I want to say 2016.
Okay, because did they end up playing Syracuse?
Michigan or Middle Tennessee? They might have.
I think they ended up playing Syracuse, and I think that was part of like how they. Yeah, that was our junior year.
Was that the year they went to the Final Four?
Yep. They beat Virginia in the Elite Eight. Yeah, that was that game.
Yeah,
that game was crazy because I like Virginia too. I'd probably say growing up, everyone's a Syracuse fan. Everyone, reps Syracuse around being like living in Syracuse. So I'd found Tony Bennett and I thought he was an amazing coach. I loved his team and I became a fan of them.
Mm-hmm.
And here I was conflicted because here was Syracuse, my hometown team. I had season tickets all throughout high school. I'd gone to almost every home game that I could. And here they were going up against Virginia, who I knew hadn't seen success in the NCAA tournament in forever. Especially with Tony Bennett. And, people were ridiculing his style of play, saying you can't play that slow and be good in the tournament and all that. And then Syracuse makes this miraculous comeback. Everyone's going crazy. And I felt so bad for Virginia. I felt so bad. And nowadays, I don't even know who to root for. My friend Buddy Boeheim, he's on Syracuse now. I always tell him that I'm rooting for him against Virginia nowadays.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that he's on the team and, I got to represent Syracuse now.
I didn't know you're friends with him. That's awesome.
Yeah, no. We played high school basketball together. He's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's a crazy thing to see, the differences between, some regular season teams versus conference tournament teams. And then there's the NCAA tournament team, or the national tournament team, because you see other teams make a run in, say, the NIT or something like that. And you're this team was garbage all year. And now they make the NIT and now they made a run. But it's amazing to see, and it's another reason why I just love college basketball. So you said West Kentucky, Middle Tennessee. You don't follow any, I know you said you don't really follow any, but there are no big teams that you really paid attention to, or?
No, I mean, no, I'll pay attention to them. I would say ones that I've really liked in the past. I really like what Florida State does.
Okay.
Leonard Hamilton, I think, is an incredible coach, and what he's done at that program. I mean, that program wasn't great when he got there, and he's elevated it to a level where I think he's made it's 3 straight Sweet 16s or Elite 8s or some crazy stat like that. So I really like the programs that have been Oregon's another one has been completely built up. Dana Altman's another great basketball mind. And then, there's a lot of really good, bigger schools. And then, it also makes the conference tournaments exciting because there's a lot of bubble teams and it's bigger schools. So when they make it, it's a really big deal, which is awesome.
Right.
And then, it's really interesting to see how a lot of also the 5 stars pan out at the bigger schools.
Yeah.
Because no one expected Zion to be what he was. I don't remember what his exact ranking was. I don't even think he was in the top 20. I think he was on the outskirts of the top 20 as a high school recruit. Something like that. I could be wrong.
Or early on, yeah.
And then
by his junior, senior year, he was getting a lot more buzz. He was the number 2 overall recruit.
Really?
Yeah, RJ Barrett. Hmm?
I was way off.
Yeah, no. Because what happened was back when Marvin Bagley was in that class, he was the consensus number one player in high school basketball, even ahead of Michael Porter Jr., who was the number one player in the class above, and DeAndre Ayton, who's the number one player in the class. Who Michael Porter and DeAndre Ayton had shared that spot sophomore, junior year, and then by their senior year, everyone decided it was Michael Porter. Um, but once Marvin Bagley decided to switch from 2018 to 2019 or 2017 to 2018, or Marvin Bagley switched from 2018 to 2017. That's
Mhm.
when RJ Barrett decided to switch from 2019 to 2018. So like
Okay.
a bunch of the rankings got flipped
Mhm.
and moved and stuff. And so I think the top four ended up being at the end of their that year. It was RJ number one, Zion number two, Cam Reddish number
Number
three,
three, yeah.
Bull number four.
Okay.
So yeah, Duke getting all the top three recruits, but people were saying RJ Barrett's the is going to be,
The
uh,
alpha dog.
yeah,
Yeah.
the alpha dog, and he ended up having a really great year. It gets overshadowed by Zion, but
Mhm.
RJ Barrett was just as good, just as impactful. So
Yeah, I remember watching. I would watch RJ at Montverde, and I was just like, this guy is this like I was like, this guy is he's playing like he's going to be the number one overall recruit in the alpha male. And I watch Zion once in a while, but a lot of the things against his game was that like he didn't have much of a jump shot.
yep,
Um, he was for a guy who was trying to play the position he was playing in high school. He was a little undersized in terms of height,
yeah,
and he completely blew all that away. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's just kind of like dunks and like hype and all that." And he came and he gave us, I don't remember the numbers, but one of the craziest statistical years we've ever seen in terms of player efficiency rating,
yeah,
and all the metrics were just like, this dude is just an absolute beast. It's not just the fact that he is fun to watch, which is just like icing on the cake.
yeah. Like 20 and 10 on almost 70% shooting.
In at Duke against like you're playing a hard non-conference schedule and then you're playing a hard conference schedule and then you're going to the tournament.
Right.
I mean, it helped overshadow, like you were saying, RJ, and it overshadowed the fact that outside of like the big recruits, because Cam Reddish he showed potential. He wasn't great.
Yeah.
He didn't. I would say, and again, it's because they took so many shots, but he
Mhm.
didn't necessarily play like a number three overall recruit.
Right.
And it also overshadowed that team wasn't very deep outside of
No.
them. They
No.
took probably, if I had to guess, like 70% of the shots each
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I'd say so because they had Trey Jones, who's a good floor general, perfect point guard for them.
Couldn't shoot a lick from at
Right,
least from three.
right. I think did they have Marquise Bolden? I think he was a senior that year.
They might have, yeah.
Yeah, which is
I don't
interesting.
remember that starting five. Did they
Right.
all start? They all started, right? All three of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, all
And
four
then
of
I don't
them
remember who the fifth. It
in
must have been
Bolden, I
Bolton. Yeah.
believe, or Javin Delorier or Jack White, depending on
Yeah.
what they needed for that day. But like you said, Javin Delorier is not much of an offensive player. Jack White wasn't really much of an offensive player. Um, Bolden was he was a former 5 star and he didn't really he wasn't playing he didn't play like a 5 star, but he found his role and he played well. I'm trying to think who else they had. Yeah, you're right, they just weren't very.
They weren't
Joey
deep,
Baker was on the team, but he never played.
Yeah.
Alex O'Connell, who ended up transferring.
Where's he at now? I remember he transferred.
I think he transferred to Creighton.
Creighton. You're right.
Yeah.
Creighton's going to be very good this year as well.
Oh yeah.
Random,
Yeah. Oh
but
yeah. McDermott. No, he takes. They do well in the transfer market.
mhm.
Um, and they're just a well coached team in a great conference, the Big East, and like Creighton's a solid program.
Marcus Zagorowski is going to be. He's their point guard. He
Yeah,
may win conference player of the year. He may be an All American. I mean, he's so underlooked in that conference.
yeah,
He's going to be nuts. He'll
yeah.
be really
He's
good.
Michael Carter Williams' stepbrother.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
stepbrother or half brother, something like that. Yeah, but
Interesting.
they are related. Yeah, no, that's crazy. Um, yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good talent this year. I hope they get to have a somewhat of a normal season
Mhm.
at pretty much every level. But hopefully these bubbles that they're doing and like these tournaments, I hope they all pan out.
Yeah,
And Yeah, no, and I also like what the Mac said with they just came out with that back-to-back Friday to Saturday
Mhm.
scheduling type thing. So that's really good for kind of limiting travel and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, as long as we get to play games, as long as everyone else gets to play games and we get an NCAA tournament, hopefully for next year we'll have a vaccine. We'll be better prepared for a college basketball season. I was hoping that would happen this year, but obviously, things happen and that's just the way it goes. But hopefully, uh, everything works out this year. We're able to have a tournament. Um, we're able to get that revenue back going so these programs don't have to suffer any longer. Because I know a lot of programs are letting go of people, and schools are letting go of people who work within the program and probably play essential roles. Like,
Mhm.
some of the media people here at Marist, like I can't imagine not having any of them, or I can't imagine not having any of the people who walk around McCann every day. Everyone plays their role in making Marist Athletics like a great organization, and I'm grateful for every single person who helps us out. So it would be terrible to have, God forbid, anybody has like they have to let go of anyone, because no one deserves that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it. It's tough times, but yeah, the schools are trying their best, and it is sometimes what has to happen, and it's horrible. It's really bad. So hopefully things get better soon. Hopefully the season picks up and it helps things out. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm really excited for the season.
Absolutely, man. And I'm not I- I'm not gonna hold you very longer. I just have a couple
Yeah,
more
no, go
things
for it, of
I want
course.
to hit before we log off for the day. Um, so let's get back into Marist Centerfield and working in sports communications. What are your aspirations? I mentioned I can definitely see you being like a Jeff Goodman, John Rothstein type of guy for college
Mhm.
basketball. Just a guy who knows everything, who knows every little thing about every little team, and that's something that's amazing. That's something that's in demand. Seeing those types of guys, having those types of guys who are able to come on different platforms and give their thoughts and opinions on certain matters and report news at the same time. So what are some of the aspirations that you want to accomplish within this field?
Um, yeah, I think I really like the reporting side of things. Like I'm big on kind of the journalistic as well as like the insider aspect, like
Okay.
having sources and being able to obviously write basically breaking news or just write articles or features or gamers. I'm a big writer. I like stuff like that. Um, on air, I haven't thought of yet. I mean, it's something I think I would feel comfortable doing, but it's not really like my top priority. Like, I don't think I would be a play-by-play guy per se.
Okay.
But but yeah, no, I mean, the thing I like the most is that I get a lot of people coming to me, and center field we try to make is like a microcosm of a newsroom as best we can,
Mhm.
and to kind of prepare people. And I get freshmen and sophomores coming in, and they're like, "Hey, I only want to cover football," and I'm like, "Come back in 2 years. We have people covering football. You need, like I said earlier, you need to work your way. I need to know if I'm giving you something as important as a football game. I don't mean to be rude. I need to know that you can write. It's a
Right.
big thing to cover. Same
Mhm.
with men's basketball. Same, especially with women's basketball.
Mhm.
Like I need to know that stuff gets clicks. I don't I need to know that you can write.
Right.
And the way I was able to kind of get on those beats is I did women's lacrosse, men's lacrosse. I believe I did a soccer game. I did women's basketball, and then I kind of I worked my way up to the women's basketball, men's basketball. I haven't done football, but you kind of got to work your way up. I did a bunch of features.
Mhm.
So you just got to show that you can write, and having that ability for me to go into a newsroom in the future and say, hey, I'll cover really any sport. I'll
Yeah.
figure it out. I'll learn it. Here are the ones that I mainly watch.
Mhm.
And I'll cover any of them. I'll do whatever you guys want me to, and then I'll obviously hopefully work my way towards the sport that I would like. But yeah, I want to get out. I want to write. I want to hopefully eventually report, because that comes with building sources and that doesn't come overnight.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, no, I definitely I want to get into the writing. I think a lot of people try to jump the kind of jump the path of being on air or being really a lot of people in this industry, no matter where they end up, almost all of them started off as writers.
Okay.
A lot of them, especially on air people, started off writing, and that's how you
Stephen
can
A's of the
think
world.
coherently, think critically,
Mm.
look at things in the right lens. Whereas you can kind of tell when you watch people on air if they have a writing background or not. Like
Okay.
people think Jay Billis just went to Duke and all of a sudden he became on air and he was just like a great, Jay Billis is a lawyer. The dude's a lawyer. Like
Yeah.
he knows how to critically think. He knows how to analyze situations. He knows when to talk and when not to. And people give him flack. I think he's a great on-air personality, and I wouldn't be
I love.
surprised if being a lawyer has helped him realize his communication skills, writing skills, all
Yeah.
that stuff. So having that separate background in something that is journalism, or even being a lawyer like Jay Billis,
Yeah.
um, it helps. All of it helps, and I think it's a good way to kind of slow your roll and realize maybe you don't want to be on air. Maybe you
Hmm.
just have an opinion you want to share. You can do that a lot easier writing, and then you can kind of transition into on air.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the path I want to take. If on air is something I want to do, I also have a business minor. So
Okay.
if like a team front office, it's so far down the road, but if that's something that would interest me, then yeah, I would definitely love to be a part of something like that, more of a team oriented rather than media oriented position. But
Of course.
yeah, I'm definitely leaving my doors open. I kind of did that when I got here. They were like, I was asked a lot, everyone's asked, like when you first get here, they're like, what do you want out of college, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be involved in sports. I don't know what yet. I want to
Okay.
learn. That's why I'm here. I want to figure it out. And all the time I was told, like, that's a great attitude. Like, that's what you want because you want to keep your options open. You have kids who come, they're like, I want to be the next Stephen A. Smith and I only want to talk about basketball. And I'm like, all right, so you've just completely given yourself one path and
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
And not even.
I don't,
Not even
I
Stephen.
don't really, I don't think Stephen A. Smith is like he's
Yeah.
a good guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's not someone you should necessarily strive to be in media.
Hmm.
He's very entertaining. He knows his role, but he just
Yep.
kind of like he just yells. He doesn't really say anything that blows your mind very often. He does once in a while, but so
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
get a lot of people like that, and it's just like you got to think a little deeper than that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. What is it about you that's going to get you on air? Not just the fact
Exactly.
that you can cover basketball. Stephen A. He can cover a bunch of different sports. I know him working with Max Kellerman has brought him into more of the martial arts fighting realm. He's now able
Hmm.
to talk a little bit about that, more educated, and as well as football. He's able to talk about that. But you don't see him talk about hockey. You don't see him talk about baseball much, but he worked from the ground up,
Yeah.
doing radio, writing, working in Philly for the 76ers, covering them for a long time, and finally getting his shot at ESPN. People don't realize he's 50 years old and he's just now, you know, he feels like he said he feels like he really made it
Oh
for
yeah.
the first time back in 2018 when he was like in his late 40s.
Hmm.
It's a long process, and if it's something you love and it's something you're willing to work for, then it can be very rewarding in the end. You never know.
And I will say I respect the hell out of him because he had a quote where he said, I think like I think it might have been off of a LeBron quote where LeBron said like I'm living the American dream or something like that.
Yep.
And Stephen A was like, I think I'm closer to the American dream
Oh
because
yeah.
Stephen A was like, I wasn't born 6'8", 250. No one is, you know what I mean? Like LeBron, I'm not gonna knock him. The dude has worked his butt off. He's been an incredible role model, all this stuff. But if he was 5'8", 170, he probably wouldn't be where he is.
Oh yeah.
And for Stephen A, you can't knock him for that. Like he is where he is because he's who he is, you
Yep.
know? And his come up has been incredible. I mean, the dude, I think he might be the highest paid like journalist in sports.
I think so too. Him or
What
him or
is he like
Steve
10 million a year?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He's
all power to him
more than
for
yeah.
he found what makes him valuable and he found what makes him entertaining and he does know his stuff and he's worked his way up and I respect the hell out of him for that.
No, I do too. And I'm super I admire him. a lot, and I enjoy watching him too. Um, but yeah, no, it's a process, and it's something that you have to pay your respects to those, like even a guy like Skip Bayless, who I'm not a fan of
Mm.
whatsoever. I cannot emphasize this enough that I am not a fan of Skip Bayless, but I do respect the man. I
Yeah,
respect
he's
the
made
fact
it.
that he has worked in writing and journalism and sports for so long, and now he's reached that top tier level with a Stephen A. And Rachel Nichols and people like that, who are personalities who they, or Doris Burke, or people who transcend past just being a reporter or being an on-air personality or journalist. Like they go further than that. They have a bigger cultural impact. Um,
Hmm.
so just seeing that, it's something that you definitely respect, and it's something you can definitely try to strive for, and it's
100%.
a great thing to see. um so to end this podcast off, I do you have any advice, um besides you mentioned coming in and working on different, um being open to working on different sports, but do you have any advice for someone coming in to the sports com realm, and say they're a high school senior or a college freshman just starting out at their school or the school's publication? What would you sort of say to get them started in that business?
Um, like I've said 100 times in a word, I would say write. Like just write, write, write. Um, do whatever they throw at you. Don't be. You can't really. You got to think of it with anything. You can't just waltz in and be picky and be like it's one of now, as someone who's it's not glamorous, but the head of a publication, it's the most off-putting thing when people come up to me and they're like, I only want to cover this and I only want to write about this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to come in that closed-minded, it's not going to get you very far. You need to
Yeah.
cover other sports. You may find something that you didn't realize you liked,
Yep.
and you need to treat that whatever entry level you're at, you need to treat that as an experience and as, this is me learning about myself as much as learning about wherever I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, take that time to take whatever work you can get, show your skills, learn. Because the first thing I tell people when they think they're not good enough, I'm like, you send it to me, we're gonna edit it first anyway, and if
Mm-hmm.
there's something wrong with it, I'm not afraid to send it back and be like, hey, this isn't quite good enough, here's where you need to improve it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the goal at the end of the day with us, and I think with any publication, it should be to make people better writers.
Yeah.
Because in you're only as good as your worst writer,
Mm-hmm.
and making everyone better is something that's not only going to help them individually but help wherever the brand is,
Yeah.
the company, the publication. So yeah, my biggest piece of advice would just be to write as much as you can, with wherever you're at, without wherever you're at. Start a blog, because when you start a blog, then you can write about whatever you want. If you really want to
Absolutely.
write about that thing, just do your own blog.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and that works out just fine. But when you come up to someone else's publication and you're new there, if you do whatever grunt work or pieces they give you, you're going to get a little bit of bottom level pieces. If
Mm-hmm.
you knock it out of the park, they're going to notice it. I mean, when we get new writers, I can tell within 2 paragraphs if I'm like, yeah, this is someone I might give a beat to in the spring. Like, I can already tell, you know. And then it's also, I've kicked some stories back to people this year, and they
Mm-hmm.
come back with me right away with a great looking story, and they've fixed exactly what I've addressed. I'm like, this is a person I can rely on.
Yeah.
And when you can build that identity within a publication, that you're someone who is responsible, on time, reliable, someone they can count on, that's when the big stuff comes in. That's when they start asking you, hey, what do you want to work on?
Mm-hmm.
That's the good spot to be in, rather than you coming in and saying, this is what I want to do.
Yep.
So grind the first few years, whether it's high school, college, post graduation, those first few years, like you got to grind to get where you want to be. And like you said with Stephen A, and with a lot of people, they don't get to where they really want to be until they're, halfway into the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been, 25 years in the industry. He's like, I'm finally where I want to be. And you're like, what? Wow.
Yeah.
And that's how it is, and it may
Right.
take a lot less amount of time for some, more amount of
Mm-hmm.
time for others.
Yeah.
but just keep grinding and do what you're asked of, and it'll pay dividends.
No, that's great. That's great, and that's a great way to finish off this podcast. I'm super thankful for you coming on, Dave. Definitely, I'll keep in touch with you. Definitely got to um, keep in contact so you can let me know, keep me updated about different things that are going on, because I mean, you texted me about some information earlier this week, and I was like, I had no idea about it. And
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, we posted about it on Centerfield, and I was like, no way, dude. No, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing for this school, and this school is better with you here, and with what you're doing for Marist Athletics. So we thank you for that on behalf of everyone. And I'm wishing the best for you in the future in this industry, because I know how hard you work and how good of a guy you are. So and how dedicated a sports fan you are as well. Despite being a Bucs fan. Thank you again for coming on. Thank you for sharing knowledge with me whenever you can, and I hope to talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, no, you as well. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thanks for thinking of me as well. Thanks for having me. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to, if we ever do this again, do it in person.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's our goal. But, I appreciate the kind words. Right back at you tenfold. So thank you so much, Terrence. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. This has been the Echols Unlimited podcast with Dave Connelly. I'm your host, Terrence Echols, and thank you.